Sometimes it's not just the fans and the media who tell you when it's time to make a change. Often it's the basketball gods who jump in and force your stubborn hand. This explains what happened to John Wall and what should happen as a result to the Washington Wizards. For years the Wizards resisted any urge to break up a group that couldn't crack the East Elite and showed signs of tapping out, and now they finally have their chance to push reset. With heel surgery looming, Wall, their best player, is out for the season. The Wizards are currently a few games better than the starting-from-scratch Atlanta Hawks and therefore headed nowhere special. What more of a hint do they need? Bothered by bone spurs jabbing his Achilles tendon, Wall opted for surgery instead of risking a potential rupture to the tendon. "This is something that's been there for years," Wall said. "I've played through it, and now it's to the point where you can't play through it no more unless you want to tear your whole Achilles. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm taking the shorter process of taking 6 to 8 months instead of taking 15 to 20 months. Last year, I had it, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but this year, it just got to the point where it was hot a lot of times. You see the Cleveland game, it'd be terrible. I could barely run. And one game it would be good, like the Lakers and those games. I tried as much as I could, and to the point where it was getting hotter and hotter. And then if I miss 2 games and be back a game, then miss 2 more games, that's not beneficial to those guys, and it's not giving my teammates everything I have. Changing the makeup of this franchise will send hope to the fan base, may put the Wizards in contention for a top pick in a top-heavy 2019 draft, clean up the salary cap if their moves are done properly, and set the table for a new beginning once Wall returns next season. Changes are long overdue anyway, and the Wizards now have their opening, their excuse, their chance to do something with minimal blowback. The only real question is whether this should be done by current management or if it's more of a job for replacements. Ernie Grunfeld is the longest-tenured general manager who hasn't at least reached the conference finals. He was hired in 2003, the same year as Danny Ainge in Boston, and the gap between them is roughly as massive as Wall's upcoming contract extension, which kicks in next season. Like all GMs, Grunfeld has had decent hits and costly misses in personnel decisions, except his misses seem more pronounced. Wall, Bradley Beal and Otto Porter were all solid lottery picks, but Jen Veasley, no. 6 in 2012, never had a chance. And even with those good picks, the Wizards gave all 3 massive contracts, with Wall scheduled to make $147 million for the next 4 seasons as he creeps toward his 30s. His starting salary next season, $38 million. The Wizards have the 6th highest payroll yet entered Monday, Tuesday, Manila time, with the 6th fewest victories, 14. Grunfeld essentially gave away Kelly Oubre weeks because the Wizards were unlikely to pay him next summer. The player they received in return from the Suns, Trevor Ariza, hasn't been a significant factor yet. The Wall-Beal-Porter core, still young and in its prime, are very good assets on the surface. Wall is a fast and big point guard who improved his outside shooting and brings some of the quickest hands and instincts in the game. Beal is a classic catch-and-shooter who carries premium value in today's NBA, with the emphasis on perimeter shooting. Both are all-stars, while Porter had the league's highest three-point shooting percentage a year ago. But after advancing to the second round for 3 straight years, the Wizards lost to the Raptors in the first round last season and still haven't won 50-plus games with this core. They're once again shoddy on defense, which is their biggest problem, and there's always the stench of faulty chemistry with this team. Plus, the drafts and trades have failed to bring an important bench player or someone to plug the weaknesses in the starting rotation. Dwight Howard has played only 9 games with injuries, and no one else registers. With a bleak chance of going deep in the playoffs, if they even reach the postseason, the Wizards can audible and regroup. If that sounds like tanking, well, fine. Here's what they can explore. Keep Beal, he's their most marketable player and dozens of teams would be interested in him, but for the Wizards' sake he's probably better in their uniform, barring an unexpected blockbuster deal that's in their favor. Beal is averaging almost 24 points on 47% shooting, and he's just 25. He's also signed for 2 more seasons. While he and Wall were often on the wrong page early in their careers, they've developed a workable relationship. When healthy, they're still among the top backcourts in basketball. Porter, yes, he has 2 more years at roughly $55 million total and isn't having a good year, 11. 7 points. But his touches are likely to increase with Wall out, and he still stretches defense. Between now and the trade deadline, Porter could play his way into reasonably decent value, especially to a contender. The only issue is what Washington must take back in return. Trade Ariza. Yes, the Wizards acquired him last month to help stabilize a team in the dumps, but the situation has changed without Wall. It's probably best for the Wizards to dial up those other teams interested in Ariza and do it quickly in case he slumps and gives those suitors reason for pause. Find out what Troy Brown Jr. can do. For some reason, the swingman-heavy Wizards drafted a swingman in the first round last June. Sure, it's reasonable to take the best player available, but in the process Brown has fallen through the cracks and hardly plays. With Obregon and Ariza perhaps not far behind, the Wizards can begin developing Brown and allowing him to make his mistakes now. Another young player who should see more time is 6'11" Thomas Bryant, who dropped 31 points on the Suns and 21 on the Hornets. The Wizards are better off in the short term by allowing their young players to audition for rotational roles next season. Finally, keep Wall, not that they have much of a choice. Wall is both injured and pricey, not a great combination for a team holding any visions of seeing what he can fetch. Wall's injury is similar to the one Mike Conley suffered, and Conley has returned to form with the Grizzlies after missing virtually all last season. So Wall's issue isn't career-threatening. Because the Wizards are too financially tied to Wall, Beal, Porter, if he's not dealt, and Ian Mahinmi, yes, next season, their free agent options for next summer are slim to none. Their best bet to add help is through the draft, which makes it more important for them to put themselves in position for a high draft pick. Which means losing games. But what better choice do they have? The draft is expected to bring 4 or 5 NBA-ready players, meaning 2019 is the right time to choose high. Wall's injury gives the Wizards the perfect alibi and opportunity to begin working on 2019-20. If they blow the chance, then their problems and dire outlook will simply roll over to next season. The basketball gods are giving them a warning.